9:15 now.
All about games. It's games junkie Gerard Campbell from stuff.co.nz.
Let's play tonight.
The Joker has been apprehended. Batman is now en route to Arkham Island.
Look at all this new security.
How's a guy supposed to break out of here?
Don't be a stranger.
He surrendered almost without a fight. I don't like it.
At least he's back where he belongs.
At least he's back where he belongs. Who is he? Well, he's the Joker. What's the name of the game? It is Batman Arkham Asylum. Who's the guy who's telling us all about it? Well, it's Gerard Campbell. He's the game junkie at stuff.co.nz. Gerard Campbell, good morning.
Good morning, Wammo. Good morning.
Good morning. No, you've only just picked this one up just yesterday, so it's fresh in your mind.
Oh, look, it is. You know, Batman's been a huge hero of mine for years. You know, I think he's one of those superhero figures that, you know, he seems to be fairly vulnerable. You know, he's a human character. And I think, you know, in the past there've been some attempts at Batman games and a lot of other superhero games, and they never seem to have caught, I think, that, you know, that dark psyche and that mystique that Batman has. But this one, you know, it just seems to have nailed it. It's nailed it. It's, you know, I was thinking about it this morning. It's not the George Clooney Batman, you know, that rubbish one. It's the you know, it's almost a mix of that very first Michael Keaton Batman and Christian Bale. You know, the really psychotic, gritty and broody Batman, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, have you seen Batman Returns and the latest one as well?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
they're all that dark, aren't they? Very dark.
Yeah, well, they are. Because I mean, I think when you think about it, Batman, you know, with what the story's gone through, he should be a fairly mentally unbalanced character, I think. And I think in this Batman game, it really shows. You know, he's and I think another way that how this game works is that. From what I understand, you know, it's been done by a team of developers who really enjoy Batman, but also they're using Mark Hamill, who of course everyone knows as Luke Skywalker from the Star Wars series, but he does the voice of the Joker. Yeah. And Kevin Conroy, who does the voice of Batman, and they're both the two voice actors who did the voice for the characters in a really good Batman cartoon series, you know, which was really dark and gritty. So that adds a lot of atmosphere to it as well, and it really works. Just the combat works really well, and it's just, yeah, visually it's impressive. I think for a game to work, it's got to look visually strong, but I think, you know, you've got to have characters that sound believable and voice work that sounds believable, and this one just, you know, hits the nail on the head perfectly.
Does it follow a storyline that we've seen before in a movie, or is it on its sort of on its own movie, if you will?
Yeah, well, the story's, it's sort of its own story, but it's featuring things that we've seen from, especially the last two Batman movies, you know, The Dark Knight and Batman Returns, and that. The basic story is that the Joker, who, you know, has been fairly easily caught by Batman, is taken back to Arkham Asylum, which we'll know is the nut house in Gotham City for all the city's hugely bad criminals. And what happens is that the Joker escapes, and he lets loose all his prisoners and all of Batman's nemesis, you know, things like Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn and Bane and Killer Croc. They're all imprisoned in Arkham as well, and Joker's released all these guys. So Batman has to battle his way through the asylum, as well as taking out Joker's goons, but he also faces off against Bane and Killer Croc and all these things. So yeah, it's basically he's got to hunt down the Joker again and basically restore order to the prison, which is a fairly tough task along the way sometimes.
And what about the gameplay itself? How does it play out? I mean, what sort of perspective are you looking from?
It's from third person, so you can see the Batman figure, and you probably saw it in the trailer. He's a very you know, he's the Batman. He's a big Batman, you know, very muscular in a big Batman suit, but he can do all the neat things like you'd expect Batman to be able to do. There's he starts out in the game with very few gadgets, but as we know, Batman gets gadgets to die for as he goes through. And this one you start off with his grapple gun, which works really well because a lot of it, a bit of stealth is really important.
Yeah.
In some sections, you'll have 4 or 5 goons that'll be in an area, and Batman's suit too. It's a really high tech suit. So I was playing the Xbox version, so you do a tap of the left bumper, and it puts on his detective mode, which basically gives him almost like X-ray vision, which goes through and points out where all the bad guys are. And another cool feature is that in a lot of the rooms, because it's a really old Gothic sort of asylum building, is that there are a lot of gargoyles around the walls. So what you can do tactically is that if you come into a room, there's 4 or 5 guys, you can actually pick them off one by one. So you can pop over to gargoyles silently in the air and actually hang from a gargoyle, and as a goon walks underneath you can actually drop down and pull them back up into the sky.
Huh.
Give them a bit of a whack, and then you tie them up and drop them down. And what that does is that you can tell from your detective mode and your cowl and your visor that it also tells you, the physical state of your enemies. And they start off as calm. It tells you that they're calm, but as more and more of their guys get picked off, you see their heart rate increasing. You can see that their state says that they're nervous. So it adds, a little bit of tension to it. And it's actually quite fun. You've got to actually pick guys one by one and then jump back into the sky and then jump them off, and then you progress. And then, of course, other things, you've got your straight at combat, which is lots of melee punches, and you've got your batarang, and you've got gadgets like an explosive gel, which you can blow walls out. And, of course, your visor, your detective mode shows you places that you can spray the gel, and it shows you, things that you can shoot with your batarang. So I think there's been a lot of thought go into the sort of character that they wanted to create, and I think they've kept a lot of the key elements of the quintessential Batman, what he should be.
Now I've heard that he also has like 2 types of vision that he can use. There's some kind of X-ray vision as well, and I've heard that you can have that on kind of permanently and see stuff that you wouldn't normally see all the time. But if you do that, then you're not seeing the beauty of the game with the graphics as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, look, it's I've played the Xbox one, but I've also had a look at the PC demo as well, and they're both just, it starts to blow me away how visually incredible some of these games are becoming. But you're right, the modes he's got, that sort of X-ray sort of detective mode that he's got, that'll, as he said, it's like the X-ray, it'll go through. But what it'll show, it'll also identify civilians, so like hospital staff and prison guards, but it'll also be able to accurately pinpoint armed goons from the Joker, so you'll be able to identify, if you're coming up to and as you expect on the Asylum, there are lots of tight corridors and things for you to climb on and ventilation shafts that you can walk through. But you'll often find yourself coming into, you'll come up to a corner and you'll flick on your detective vision, and you'll see around the corner there are 4 guys, and they'll be highlighted in red, and you can tell that they've got weapons. So you can, last night playing a wee bit, trying with that detective mode on, and it works really well. But you're right, you lose. It's nice to flick off between that detective mode and put it into the normal visual mode, because you do lose some of the, the graphical beauty that it's actually got going for it. There's a lot of really nice texture work, and Batman looks really menacing, and the combat, you can feel the crunch when you're smacking into someone's skull, and it just seems to work really well. And Batman can do, as you expect, he can do punches and kicks, but he can also do counter moves. So if you see this little icon pop above an enemy's head, if you press one of the buttons on the controller, he'll do a counter move. So he might, drop down and punch them in the stomach and then put them off guard, and then you can knock them out. And sort of, when you've knocked off the last goon, the last move will go into slow motion, and he'll do a big leap and jump on them and knock them out. So there's a lot of thought gone into this. There really, really has.
Cool. Well, you too can go and be Batman, Arkham Asylum. So Xbox and PlayStation as well?
Yeah, Xbox, PlayStation 3 and PC.
Excellent. And people can find out more on your Game Junkie blog at stuff.co.nz once you've had a little bit more playtime, no doubt.
Indeed, yes.
And also get into a discussion with you on Twitter, twitter.com/GameJunkieNZ. And until next time, of course, you'll be able to find this video as well up on YouTube. Search for Batman Wammo and also Game Junkie, and no doubt you'll come across it. Thanks, Gerard. We'll catch you next time.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
Track now from Kids in Space.